Up next on Inside ChampCar, a look back at Harris Hill and a look forward to NCM. Welcome to Inside ChampCar. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great, man. It's where am I now? I'm somewhere on the road. I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Remember that back when?
Yes.
When we had
My kids played that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where in the world is Bill Strong?
I am in Bowling Green, Kentucky. It is nice and overcast outside. Nice sun. You can see the sun in the background because there's a blank spot over there.
Cool.
But it's fun. It's nice out here actually.
All right.
Just got back from Texas. I was in San Marcos, Texas at Harris Hill Raceway.
Cool.
And we did an 8 and a 7 hour there and had an absolute blast. I love that track.
Nice.
It's a club track. The people there are just a little more laid back than some of the more serious racetracks are. And it's just about having fun, man. And, we had 2 races, 8 hours and 7 hours, 8 hours on Saturday, 7 hours on Sunday. And we had 34 cars start the race, and I think 32 started Sunday. And we didn't have as many as we normally had, but there's been some issues with, COVID and gas prices and stuff like that, because gas was insanely expensive. So, over $4 a gallon, as most of you know. And, of course, we had no diesel guys out there because that's over $5 a gallon. If you're out in California, it's probably even higher than that.
$6.75 is what I saw diesel for. Diesel 2.
Geez,
$6.75.
Insane. I think the highest I saw was $4.65, like $4.69 or something like that.
That's a dream.
$5.69. Sorry, $5.69 somewhere in Tennessee.
There you go.
Virginia border there. But yeah, Lone Star Rallycross, they won both races with their 2006 Mazda MX-5. And it's I start off the interview and I say something like they dominated. They didn't really dominate. They just were. They never had any issues. They stayed away from everybody, and boom, they were there.
Yeah.
They were ahead. Some teams that were probably faster got black flags for some stuff, and they're some of the other teams that could have gave them a good race kind of fell off either due to mechanical or off track incidences, and those things add up over time. And if you do it perfect like the Lone Star Rallycross guys did, there you go, you'll win a race.
There you go. All right, let's hear from the winners from this weekend's races at Harris Hill.
Lone Star Rallycross takes a win here at Harris Hill. Where are you? We're going to let who's going to talk?
Where's Colin?
Okay, we'll wait.
Colin.
I'm not going to take the glory for this.
There's your guy right there.
There he is.
Howdy.
Colin, Lone Star Rallycross. You guys take first place here at Harris Hill.
Yeah.
Provisional up until we everybody passes tech, but pretty much dominated today, man.
Yeah, we finally stayed out of trouble.
So were you good there at the end with fuel?
We were babying it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All 3 stints we came in under fumes.
Under fumes. How is that when you're on track and basically it's flat, pretty much all of it except that one part? Can you coast all that way?
No, you can't. Pit road's uphill. So.
Yeah. So the power of that car was turning the tires on some of the turns, making some smoke back there. Was that tire smoke or was that other smoke?
I bet our diff's failing right now.
Ooh, that's not good. So
we've raced the first 5 years with open diff, so it'll be no problem tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, tell us a little about the car.
06 Miata. It was my daily driver, and then I decided to turn it into a race car. So we cut a bunch of stuff off from it and just keep throwing junkyard transmissions and motors in it and go racing every year.
So one of the things we noticed is over the winter here, you guys have made this car a lot lighter. It no longer has paint on it.
Yeah, that was more of a issue with deciding color between the team members.
So you just decided not to paint it. It's just bare metal right now.
It's a good compromise.
In Texas, it doesn't matter, right?
No, not at all.
There you go. Who are your drivers this weekend?
We had Jacob Hiller, Brianne Korn, and Jorge Gonzalez.
All right, cool, man. Congratulations. First place here Saturday, Harris Hill.
Yep.
All right, I'm down here with Lone Star Rallycross. You guys, day 2, win number 2 here at Harris Hill. Again, total domination, man. You guys came out. A couple cars led in the early, but then all of a sudden, boom, there you are.
Yeah, I think it was Winkler getting that black flag early on that really helped us move forward. Otherwise, they would have given us trouble the whole race, I think.
So would you, if Winkler hadn't got that, could you have still caught him?
I think so. Looking at lap times, I think that all of our drivers are really close together, and they have a bit more variance. So I think over the long run, we would have got him eventually.
Different driver set today or the same?
We switched 2 and 3. The order of the same driver. Yeah, same. We switched the orders. Colin started, Jorge got second, I did third stint, and then Brienne finished again.
Colin, so what kind of cheaty bits are we going to find when we look at that engine?
I don't know. The motor came out of a junkyard, so some guy might have put a Hot Boy motor in it or something.
Too cool.
Yeah.
So tough race, or did it go to plan?
Yeah, it went all right. We didn't have to worry about fuel economy today, like yesterday, and everybody stayed clean. No black flags, no weirdness. So yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't say there was a lot of contact. There's just a lot of guys pushing it to the limit, kind of going beyond it, but you were never part of that.
Yeah, we kind of learned our lesson the last couple of years. We'd always have the race in our hands and blow it.
Yeah. So did you yell at him? You only need to take one out. So, all right, man. Congratulations. Day 2 winner here at Harris Hill. Day 1 as well.
Thank you.
All right. Congrats, guys.
All right, so those are your winners. You know, you said dominance twice, and then you said that they would, but on Saturday, the second place car was on the lead lap.
Yeah. So it really wasn't. I just like saying dominate.
Oh, you just like saying that.
Because it's basically, I'm not a writer. You know, I just have this set of words that I keep using over and over again, and that's kind of one of them.
Your
hard
crutches?
part about that interview, The hard part about that interview was there's been a couple of people over the years that I've had a really difficult time interviewing. One of them is Chris Huggins.
Right.
You ask him, so what was it like out there? And he goes, it's all right. And this guy was like that too. I'd ask, I tried to lead into the good question I thought would get a nice long answer, and he goes, yeah.
No, it was fine. It was fine.
It's
so
good.
It actually brings me to a question. How often in ChampCar races are there more than one car on the lead lap at the end?
A lot, actually.
Okay.
There's some. I would say more than half of our races last year were close.
Nice.
And it's scary close. Some of them are like, I forget. Somebody did a survey on what our closest race was, but it was milliseconds.
Sure.
I mean, it was a bumper to bumper type thing.
Cool.
Now he had said something about his
diff
going bad. I talked to Brianna later. She had the last stint in the car and on Saturday,
right?
And she said that whenever she went around I think it was turn 7 or 8, it would lift the tire, and that's what we were seeing going there. It was just a lot of smoke, and it was concerning to the corner workers. They couldn't tell because they were always in a batch of cars where the smoke was coming from.
Right. But
of course, it was just basically the tire spinning as that Miata went around. But
cool.
It was a fun race to watch. The good team stayed out of trouble. We had a lot of teams that basically did the same thing, but Winkler ended up getting. They were an early leader, and they ended up getting a black flag for passing under yellow.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, any other good stories come out, storylines, any other fun stuff come out of that weekend before we head out?
Yeah. So, the K&H Motorsports, a brand new car, they pulled that out of the weeds. Big story on our Facebook page, and I'll have that up on the forums later too.
Sure.
They had a car that was out in the I don't know what they call them in Texas, the boonies.
Right.
And it had a tree growing, a big, huge 10-inch tree or whatever growing out from under the hood. And then a smaller tree, 3 or 4 inches growing out of the trunk. And it had sat there for a long, long time. And they put that car together. I think 6 weeks is what he said, or it might have been 6 months. But they put that car together and had it racing. And zero issues other than keeping it on track. They had a hard time making that thing turn. It was only I think a 302 powered. It said 289, but I think it's a 302.
Okay.
V8, and they spent a lot of time in the grass. There was a big joke in the tower about they've spun at every corner but 11, and we were waiting for them to do it, but they didn't. But they came pretty damn close at one point. But good set of guys running that car. They also have teammates with a 68 Mustang as well that was out there, and there's plenty of pictures all over the web of those two racing together. Nice. And they had a blast. The 68 actually won D class the Sunday, and they won it Saturday.
Nice.
Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. We just make it up. Nobody will look.
So I'm always calling out or highlighting the college teams. You had CU Boulder there this weekend. So that'd be, what is that, Colorado University Boulder? And
and they
two
they
cars.
brought 3 cars.
Oh, 3 cars.
Or 2 cars. Yeah, 2 cars. And I think one of their buddies had a Subaru there as well. Or some Isuzu.
Okay.
And
cool.
they had a blast, and they did quite well actually. They had some issues, but they worked through them, and just like good engineers, and got it done.
So was the Isuzu the Screamin' Weenies? Because that's my favorite name of this team weekend. I always try to pick up my favorite team name of the weekend. I'm all in on Screamin' Weenies.
I think it was.
Okay.
And the cool thing about that is that, we talked about it on the show, and I mentioned Joe Isuzu, and nobody knew what I was talking about. It says, really? People, come on. Joe Isuzu, the best car salesman of all time.
There you go.
Ever.
There you go.
With a disclaimer at the bottom.
All right. Sunday's a little bigger gap, 4 laps between first and second place. Yep. But so that's pretty cool there. So anything else before we head off to our tech tip segment that we need to talk about on this?
It was we did ChampCar Live. We did a full show from there, and it was pretty awesome. It was Paulie and I, and of course, I shine like the brightest star in the world there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to Paul about that in a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, at the top of the show, we didn't tell anybody. Our guest coming up after our break in a few minutes here is going to be Paul Veltum, the guy who does all of the important stuff on ChampCar Live.
Oh, massively.
So, yeah. Wouldn't happen without him.
He is the how did Doc do it? The sunshine beneath our wings, or the wind beneath
your wings. Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very nice.
I never listen to them. I just make up my own stuff.
All right, cool. So you know what time it is, Bill?
It's time for Tech Tip.
I wish there was more dramatic information to go with the music.
Tip.
It's tech tip.
The tech tip. We're gonna have Paulie do that.
I was gonna say,
all you need is your seat.
Yes, we're gonna talk about the edge of your seat on tech tip. Okay.
So today's tech tip, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it's not really technical, but it is kind of technical. So we had a new team that raced with us at VIR a couple weeks ago, and we got an email back from them saying, given their perspective, what they saw and what they thought, and what they thought they needed to do next. They had never raced before, and they took out a completely stock Miata cage, the whole bit. Still had the catalytic converter on it.
Yep.
And they the thing he said is, like, we were sitting ducks out there. They were really slow, and they were doing 38s, and, my time on track, I'm not a fast driver, but my time was pretty okay, was a 26 and a 126. And, most of the top teams are doing 124s, 125s during the race. They were able to do 121s at one point. I think somebody did a 119 or something, but that could have been a crazy lap time. But they said, ultimately we ended up getting down in the 33s, and we just need to spend some money and get camshafts and headers and all this go fast parts. And I'm just like, no, your first race out there is going to be the slowest race you've ever done. You're going to do like 5 or 6 more races, and you're going to say, oh my God, I really didn't know what I was doing. And, there's just so much more to it than just buying fast parts. You as a driver need to have seat time. You need to get more time in that seat, not just learning the track, but learning the car, learning how to handle traffic, learning how to, set up a car to pass him, or there's just so many little things to it that seat time will make up for that. And you're going to gain so much more time just by sitting in the car and racing. Heck, it took us, I want to say 10 or 20 about 20 races before we were even considered a contender. Yeah. And we didn't really do much to the car. Yeah. Other than make it a little bit more reliable.
Right.
It was just, as a team, we had one guy that was really fast, but we had others that weren't near that. I wasn't very good, and it was still not, but it was just about seat time before you go out. And my tech tip is, don't go out there and spend the money on this stuff. Sure, take the catalytic converter off and put a test pipe in. That's kind of dangerous anyway, having that big hot thing under the car and you get it off road and start the gas on fire, and then everybody's mad at you, for starting a brush fire.
And that never happened.
Stock. No, it doesn't. God, they were so afraid of that at Texas, at the fall Texas. I think it was the fall Texas. We had like 4 fires started just because cars got off into the grass. But seriously, just do seat time, man. Once you start adding these parts onto the car, that just puts another problem into it that's either going to break. It just will cause other issues, lean outs and things like that, because you haven't tuned it properly. Just keep it stock. Learn how to drive. Learn how to prep.
And the other thing is, because I talk with Chris Dyson from Dyson Racing about how to do your first endurance race. This is for a different podcast, but one of the things we talked about was my suggestion was the best thing you can do in your first ever endurance race is to be like 4 laps down. Be completely out of contention early in the race, so you can learn how to do a pit stop, knowing you're not trying to do it fast. So you can learn how to do a driver change without really trying to have to do it fast, and all those little things that you just don't know because you've never done. It's I don't know because I don't know. And that's the best thing you can do early on for a couple of races, is to not be that fast, because it just takes time to learn the rhythm of an endurance race and then learn what might fail on your car. That's the other thing, Right. So I get it completely. Don't worry about go fast parts.
No, and we've been to 24s where you've got these guys show up with the Honda, and I'm just saying Honda because it's typical,
right?
You just have these Honda boys with their Honda boys with a Z, by the way, with all the aluminum parts on the engine, all anodized purple,
right.
And the car looks amazing. And you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to be in the paddock most of the night. And sure enough, when you walk to their paddock to see how they're doing, the car's out on the track, but the whole paddock is filled with AutoZone boxes and a pile of anodized parts over on the side. So.
Yeah.
Keep it stock, man, and just do a good tune-up on it and just go have fun, because you can't learn how to race in the paddock.
Yep.
It just doesn't work. You have to get that seat time.
And when you if you do choose to put a go fast, this is a tech tip part 2. If you choose to put a go fast part on your car, take the go slow part with you to the track, because you may have to put it back on.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And spend the money. Don't buy the cheapest thing on eBay.
Right.
There's a reason why it's cheap. It's you spend the money, and that's the opposite of cheap endurance racing. Technically there's no such thing as cheap endurance racing. We like to say that on our marketing stuff, but it's going to cost money, and nothing is cheap in life. So That's fun.
All right.
But the other thing is, what was I going to say? When you even the most experienced SCCA club racers or NASA club racers, we've seen them have problems. They still have that sprint car or sprint race attitude, and they go out there and they try to, they dive bomb the corners, or they just don't understand the pit strategy side of it. But that comes with it.
Yep.
And as you do more and more, you'll do pretty good. And we have some really good teams that have come from club racing that are doing well now. But when they first started out, you could always see them on pit lane.
Yeah.
It's like, they're gonna kick butt in this, and next thing you know, they're just scratching their heads like, why aren't we doing well?
Yeah.
This sucks.
There you go.
But just keep at it. You'll do well.
All right. Any other news and tidbits before we head to break and get to Paul on the other side?
Paul is awesome. That's what I want to say. Paul actually works for me. He works in our department, and Yeah, probably one of the best employees I have.
Wow.
Since he is the only employee I have. So,
all right. We're going to do that when we come back. Paul Veltum is our guest. He is the guy who presses all the buttons and makes ChampCar Live happen. We'll be back with that next on Inside ChampCar.
Every race weekend, you don't know what's going to happen. But with ChampCar.live, all the action comes right into your living room. The ChampCar Endurance Series is North America's home to real competitive endurance road racing. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car, trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. And ChampCar.live brings you live, full race coverage with in-car and trackside cameras, interviews, and expert commentary. Check out ChampCar.live on the web, subscribe, and ring the bell so as not to miss a single minute of the action. It's fun, free, informative, and it's just a click away. ChampCar.live. Come check us out. We bring you a front row seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Welcome back to Inside ChampCar. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski, and the guy with us now is the guy who gives my favorite part of the podcast every week. The guy who gives us the edge.
the edge.
Paul Veltum is here. Paul is a longtime racer, started back in the SCCA in the 60s. You're not that old. In the 80s, racing Formula Vs throughout the Midwest. He also did some drag racing in the IHRA and NHRA. Then he went to a vintage Datsun iRacing, and then he's done a bunch of ChampCar stuff as well. Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Brian. Good to be here.
Sorry for. Yes, Bill.
I'm just going to say, Paulie is, he goes from, working on our show or his show or whoever shows it is, and putting out hours upon hours of product to doing our little show.
There you go. So sorry for making you 20 years older than you really are.
It's okay.
It's my way.
I often feel that way.
It's my way of ingratiating myself with our guests, to make them feel ancient. That was not my intention. So back in the 80s, you were an SCCA in the Midwest. We probably crossed paths at some point in time. My dad started in Formula V in the Midwest and scared the hell out of himself, and then switched to a spec racer Ford, except that back then it was a sports Renault. A lot of people are too young to remember those days. But yeah, so Mid-Ohio, Blackhawk Farms, those are all the tracks that I grew up on. Tell us about how you guys started in this crazy, crazy thing we call racing.
Well, I got started in it because my family was into it. My dad started the whole thing back in the 70s. And so when I became of age, my mother and my dad bought this Formula V and started racing it. So Blackhawk, Mid-Ohio, and all that.
Did you get it
No,
for
I
your
don't remember
birthday?
it being a birthday. I think it just happened. I don't remember the details behind it, but it just it was kind of a weird surprise.
That's cool.
Here's this car.
Did it get you girls in high school?
Oh yeah, a Formula V is a chick magnet.
I actually have I have like home videos of one of the first races I did. My girlfriend came with me. No, the girlfriend was ahead of the racing.
Oh, okay.
It was before the racing.
My incentive to get out of high school and into college was, if you get to college, we'll let you go racing. So that's what kept me motivated. So
Would you start racing?
I did my first driver's school in that sports Renault. So and then been messed up ever since. So, but
well, the good thing is Brian actually knows how to pronounce Renault.
Renault. Yes, not a Renault. Yes, it's not a sports Renault. It's a sports Renault. That's the only French word I know. That and never mind. We won't go there. So after you got started in SCCA, tell us a little bit about the progression from there as far as your racing life and career.
Well, I started drag racing. I was interested in automotive repair, automotive service, so I got into that. And as I was going through school for that, the drag racing culture was
Sure.
pretty thick. We had a couple tracks in this area, and so it was a lot cheaper to go drag racing. It's like $20 or something, whatever it was for a night.
Right.
So anyway, I started racing Chevys and was pretty good at it. And that's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to.
If you're good at it, then you keep doing it. So I had a lot of fun with that. But in the back of my mind, road racing was still the mistress that I had to return to.
Right. I did one drag race in a Chevy Cavalier, and I won first place. It was bracket race, and I won first place. I beat a Corvette. I'm like, I will never do that again. My drag racing career is done.
Yeah, I really suck at drag racing. I have like a 1.5-second reaction time, which I guess is not good. I don't know, but I always lost or broke or just, they made me look stupid going down the drag strip.
So you've been used to that for a while.
Yeah, pretty much. Was your dad pretty upset with you moving over to the drag racing side of it? Or, he could see it brought you up in the road racing side?
He had very little interest in drag racing, and it was during during a strained time in my relationship with my dad because my parents divorced when I was 13, and that put a pretty significant dampener on road racing. And my dad moved out, and it was just, as I got deeper into my teens and started going to school, our relationship wasn't very good. We weren't close. It's not that we didn't like each other or anything like that. We just didn't have that connection. And so, but he did come out to one of the races after I'd been running for a while, and that was pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
When you got back into road racing, what'd you get back into?
Well, it was vintage racing.
Okay.
And because we had always been racing, my dad had always been racing Datsuns, I thought it'd be a cool way to sort of move back into a closer relationship with my dad if I bought this race car. And I found this race car, and I thought it was way too cool for me to own. And when I saw how much it cost, I thought, oh my gosh, I might be able to make that work.
So what was
it? Is it possible I could still own that? I just couldn't believe that I would ever own anything that cool.
So what was it?
I managed to get it. I was a 68 Datsun Roadster.
Okay.
And it was painted up as a Bob Sharp.
Yeah.
And built as a Bob Sharp tribute car. And it actually had pretty good history. It was always a race car going back all the way into the 70s, shortly after it rolled off the line. So there was a guy by the name of Fred Rose that built the car who worked for IBM, and he did a masterful job developing the car. So that was the first chassis type of car that my dad raced. So showing him that car, and as nice as it looked that day, I've got pictures of it, that helped us really in our relationship with each other. And so that was really the major push behind doing it. But so I was vintage racing for about 3 years with that car.
So is it that classic red, white, and blue Bob Sharp colors?
Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
It was a really pretty car. He actually showed some pictures of it this weekend, wasn't it? On the show Saturday, I think he showed.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It's a really cool little car.
Yeah, one of my best friends races has got two cars, although I think he's getting rid of the 200. He's a 200 SX, and then he has a 240Z, both of them painted in that same Bob Sharp type color scheme. And just that classic Nissan, then Datsun, now Nissan color scheme. So that's pretty cool.
It's interesting to know how small those cars are, and to know that Paulie being 6'8", or something like that. I think he's like 6'1". What are you? 6'1", 6'2"?
Yes, I think I'm
5'11"?
shrinking by
I
the
don't know.
day. Yeah,
Yeah, I know we
But,
all are. But that happens with age.
Well, I'm not shrinking. It's just going into different places.
Yeah. I think it's all of us actually, except for Paul. Paulie's shaped like this V.
Okay.
He's a real thin, tall, and fits in any car he wants to. Basically, I'm like,
well, that's the thing. My
here.
good buddy Evan Horner now lives out on the West Coast. He would kind of self-deprecating on himself because of his size, his smaller stature. I said, dude, you are the quintessentially perfect size for racing.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, have you ever met Mario Andretti?
Exactly.
He's your height, bro.
He's exactly because
he's just a
Evan
Italian guy.
Yeah, Evan raced for me, and I have kind of a big seat in the car, and we had to put, we always had to put pillows in the car for Troy, but we had to put side pillows and back. I mean, basically, we had to, just a little guy, perfect
to the point where he can't feel the car anymore because he's all in this big cushion thing. Yeah.
Yep.
I always tell people I'm the perfect size to drive height to drive race cars. I'm just not the perfect width to drive race cars. So, I suppose I should work on
single-seater.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's happened to Paul Tracy. I don't think he can fit in an Indy car anymore. That's one of the problems he's running into. That's why he's driving Trans Am.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So
it happens to us. We mature.
Yes. I have a mature body. So
it's not a dad bod. It's a father figure.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Is that what Madonna was singing about?
Kinda.
So how did you get mixed up with this whole ChampCar thing?
God, we're not going to just talk about me, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
ChampCar. ChampCar is Tyler Pedersen's fault. If Tyler is listening, he found ChampCar, and I was following him as he was getting started, and he was getting started in ChampCar, Kip Mitchell, who was one of his crewmen, and he still races with us today. Kip sent me a message. We were friends from SCCA autocross, because I'd been autocrossing my Roadster, and we all lived up in this area. And Kip sent me a message, said, hey, there's a guy who's looking for a driver for his Miata team for Road America coming up. That's it. And I said, well, it was my birthday, and I'm hiding in the bedroom trying to get a hold of this guy. Because I got the families out there and everything, and I'm like messaging, trying to get a hold of this guy named Justin Lee. And anyway, end up making connection, end up racing with him. And that was the first race, was at Road America back in 2013.
Right.
And I came from SCCA, where you had to go through some driver classes. You had to go through the oh my gosh, my mind's blanking.
The school.
What do they call it? They had driver schools. You had to go through, complete those, and you were evaluated before they would, give you a
full comp
not a license.
First a novice permit. Yep.
You had a permit, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. You had a permit, and then you'd get your license if you were still good enough to get that. And here was ChampCar with none of that, not even a physical. And I thought, this is going to be a complete disaster. And all I'm going to be doing is trying not to get killed out there. And I hit the track. I hit the track in Justin's car, and I was the first guy out. And so we take the green, and I'm just kind of laying back just to see what these guys do at Road America, heading down into turn one. And I was surprised. It turns out that most of the people that were around me were people just as clean and polished as I was, and I was really pleasantly surprised. They were really just guys just like me who had come from other clubs just like the SCCA, and they were just looking for that maximum track time. So all of that first stint that I ran at Road America completely changed my perspective of what ChampCar was. And
well,
I've been
you
with it ever
missed
since.
you missed her from 2009 to 2012 then, which was just a big, the big one every corner. I'm kidding. It wasn't like that.
Yeah, there is no. I've never seen a big one in ChampCar. We had a big one last weekend that Bill described, and it was actually, I think, two cars might have touched was the end result. The others are just kind of
Well, they
scattering
did
into the
touch.
grass. And,
They
touched.
Always saw.
We had the big one.
So, we're watching inside, and I heard you say something. I look up, and I just look over at turn 8, and there's
grass.
I want to say 30 cars, but it was maybe 7 just spinning all over the place. And, everybody in the tower is like, oh, they're doing everything you're not supposed to do in the tower. And I said, it's the big one. And Paul's like, he said the big one.
That's good.
Because, NASCAR is legitimately has the big one. And the
big one.
And I thought, we don't have crashes like that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
We never get to say that ever. You want to, we say giggity,
Bill. We don't want to say that, William. We don't want to say that. It's a bad thing. Nobody wants to go. Nobody wants to come out to a race like that and put all that energy into it and get out there and get into a huge crash.
See, my goal every
people don't have money like that.
My goal every weekend is to say at least once, trouble in turn 4, That's as close as I get to the big one is, trouble in turn 2. I love it. So you're the brains behind ChampCar Live, right?
Yeah.
You can say that.
Yeah.
So for those who, if you've just literally fallen off the back of the turnip truck, and you're not at all familiar with ChampCar and how they do things, they do a live broadcast on a ton of their races, not all of them, but the vast majority of them, and Paulie's the guy who's touching all the buttons, tickling the ivories, and making the whole thing happen. How'd you get into that?
I noticed that at the races, after the races, you'd be standing there at the award ceremony, and you could hear the rumblings amongst the people, the things that were happening as everybody's got a beer,
right?
And it's like, oh man, there's a lot of cool stories going on that nobody knows about, nobody hears about. Wouldn't it be interesting if we had that stuff going out? There should be some kind of coverage or something, to talk about what happened. Somebody should do something about that. And I started talking to my dad about it. I started talking to Justin Lee about it. He said, yeah, you should do it. And I said, oh, no, not me. I'm just thinking somebody should do it. But I don't think, not me. I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't want to do it.
So you opened your mouth and got stuck.
Well, the problem was that my dad said if I would do it, he would help. And I said, oh, well, maybe I should play around with this. I was already an IT professional, so it was kind of in my wheelhouse, but I had never really messed with live streaming or anything, and it was pretty new. Certainly the idea of live streaming a race over cellular was quite new. And so, I started playing around with it and found that there was some viability to it. Found that, of course, we were getting live timing and scoring on the web. And then it was just a matter of finding a platform where I could kind of mix everything together and then call the race, have enough cameras to kind of have something to look at. And so I did that for a while. And over time, eventually, I approached the WRL with the idea of doing a show. And the guy that was running it there just didn't really understand what I was getting at, and I felt like it would be pretty difficult. I didn't feel like he had the vision, and so that was just a really nice way of putting what actually happened. And so then I was talking to Justin again. He said, well, let me put you in contact with Mike Chiswick. And I got a hold of his wife, and she was really excited about it, and so was he. He said, I don't know. we had somebody try to do that and it just didn't work. There's not enough bandwidth at the tracks. And I said, well, Mike, I think things have changed enough now. I think it can be done.
Okay.
And
so this is where hold on. This is where I step in. So I think it was Facebook Live. I think it was Facebook at one of the early VIR 24s had just like the week earlier released Facebook Live.
Yeah, this was actually before that, but yeah.
Was that before? Yeah, you were doing that before that. But then the Facebook Live thing came up and I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. How do I do this? So the 24 I started doing stuff.
It was pretty close to that same time, Bill. But this was just a little bit before Facebook Live came out. But you're right. But I just wanted to make the point.
But you had already talked. Yeah, you had already talked to Andrea. And
to
she
Andrea
had come
and
up to me.
Yeah. Andrea and Mike. The point that I wanted to make was this would have been so much harder and taken so much longer to develop if it wasn't for the vision of Mike Chiswick and the support thereof. He was absolutely critical. Otherwise, it was going to take me so much longer and so much harder without having the club support. So because I was telling him, well, I think I could do Gingerman in Mid-Ohio and Road America. He's like, well, I want to do it for all of them. He was so ahead of where I was even ready to think yet. And then you were doing garage walks and with Facebook Live. So we kind of jumped forward, not far.
Well, I didn't know about you.
And then
I didn't really know about what
garage
you were
walks,
doing.
and I was watching you. Well, we just didn't have that communication yet. It was still very early.
Right.
And I was still trying to figure stuff out. I just wanted his support, and he was all about it. And so this was all not even half baked. We're still mixing it in the pot.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to bore anybody with the details, but eventually we worked out. And I got to admit, we had so much fun. Those first couple of years when Bill and I started working together was so much fun. Two IT guys trying to figure out how to do something that really nobody was doing.
Right.
And that was a lot of fun.
You do know the guy sitting here with us, Paulie, Brian, is probably one of the most instrumental guys in our whole show there, just from the hardware perspective that he pointed us in those directions. And then also a lot of the issues we had early on with communications, with just the technical side of the show. Brian helped us along with some folks at the Radio Lamar, Radio IMSA,
right?
John and those guys, and they, just knowing that the problems that we were having, including Bob Varsha. I mean, heck, one of the first interviews we ever did with anybody of name was Bob Varsha, and having an issue with just doing that interview with the hardware, that just got us moving in the right direction, and knowing that we were doing things right.
Well,
especially on the budget that we had no budget.
Yeah, Tim, I know how that goes. Nobody wants to spend any money, but everyone wants an ESPN quality broadcast. It's crazy, but it's funny because you and I met through a friend, and our mutual friend said to me, "Oh, Brian, you got to meet Bill. He's a car guy," and I get that all the time, and so we connected on Facebook, but we never really did anything talking for several years. And then out of the blue, I am here. So when did you guys start this? And it was like around 2014, right?
No, 2015.
Okay.
16,
so
like
I had just moved to LA. And so I was already out of Virginia. And all of a sudden you popped up on my Facebook and we talk. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll talk. And then you started talking about this thing you wanted to do. And I must have given a little bit of wisdom. You can take. I can give you all of.
It was connecting the hardware that you'd use for a live feed for news, because you were working with CBS.
Right.
And basically I was looking at getting this huge camera set up with microphones, some assistant and all this stuff. And you're like, well, no, they're moving towards cell phone usage for a lot of this stuff. Yep. And it's like, cell phones, huh?
Yeah.
And
the difference is they were using $4,000 cell phone machines, backpacks.
Yeah.
But you guys were able to work it out.
Just basically a digital audio or digital analog adapter or XLR adapter to a phone, and with a proper good heavy duty news mic, not cheesy ones. And Paulie was able to take all that.
But here's the funny part. When we had that conversation, I'm like, this is never going to work in my head.
Oh, yeah.
I'm giving you what I know, but also understanding the uphill battle of what you were trying to do. I mean, when you describe what you wanted to do, someone who'd been in the business for as long as I had, I'm like, they have wonderful ambition, but a lot of times, budget doesn't equal ambition. And when you're starting out, budget fixes problems. You can spend your way around problems. And I knew you guys didn't have a huge budget. So I was happy to lend a little bit of wisdom that I could give you. But in the back of my head, I'm going, this is never going to work. And then
that's where my budget came in. ChampCar had their budget, then Bill had his own budget.
Right.
And we were able to spend our way around that. Let me tell you, just finding the right stuff.
Right.
Even for Paulie, just finding out what works just took so much time and effort. We get companies telling us, "Oh yeah, this will do everything you wanted to do," and I'd pay an obscene amount of money for something, and it would fail. Like it would work on Friday, and then Saturday race day. You plug everything in, stand there, and say, "So how's the race going for you?" And Paulie's like, "Dude, we can't hear you." It was just so
cool.
It was very challenging.
And then we still had problems with some of the, Paulie's software and such. And ultimately you sorted it out, and it's just like, wow, this is pretty damn good. It's just so much work.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had his problems and I had mine. We were just kind of sorting through that while at the same time trying to evaluate the viability of broadcasting from track to track to track. We'd never been there. We didn't know what was going to happen when we set up our stuff. When we put, 2 or 3 car cameras in there and a couple 2, 3 track cameras up, what's going to happen when everybody gets going and everybody turns on their phones and so we had no idea. So that there was a lot going on there.
And we had a deal with a company that was doing our hosting for us, and then they were track video specific, and they helped us a ton. But then just one day they decided we're not going to do this anymore and left us in a like, what are we going to do? It's like, holy crap, we got a race in 2 weeks. What am I going to do? And luckily, YouTube was available. And YouTube at that time allowed us to basically set up a ton of little channels, separate channels, and we could send them to you. All the cameras at the time, I'd moved from, I think, 1 or 2 GoPros to cell phones, basically.
Yeah.
And we put I bought a whole bunch of cell phones and put them in race cars. Sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't.
Right.
The picture quality was just the worst. I mean, it'd go in and out and just crap. I mean, they were just not good, but and it did what we wanted to do. And we just sent everything to YouTube up until somebody decided to go shoot up somewhere with a GoPro going live, and YouTube, I think that week, shut everything down. You could no longer do live streams to YouTube, like with your account on a mobile device. And then we had to come up, I think, it was Road America, wasn't it? We were at Road America and that happened. We went to turn everything on and nothing worked. And so we tried it with, I had to basically get another RTMP server, and that made it happen. Yeah. But
well, the funny part is
when
I'd last talked to you, I'd had that, there was a brief conversation or a couple conversations, and I thought to myself, this is never going to work. And then you were here for a race at Fontana. And, I saw you were coming. I said, hey, maybe I'll stop out for the weekend just to say hi, because we'd never met face to face. And that was the first time I actually went and looked at the YouTube channel to see what you were actually doing. And I went from, this will never work, to these guys really kind of got it together. And I was really happily surprised at the level of, and I'm sure that was years after our first conversation. You had time to perfect it or all of that. But I was like, wow, these guys have figured it out.
Yeah, it's taken a lot, and Paul being, the producer, what's the lead
director,
announcer guy,
director, play by play,
everything, host, host, and just, he sits there for 12 hours telling us to shut up, giving the play-by-play, telling us we're wrong.
So, Paul, are you at home for all of this?
First.
Or at a
Not
studio
all of it.
location?
No.
Or do you do this from the racetrack at all?
Occasionally I'm at the track. Typically I'm here at my home studio.
Okay.
So it just depends on the situation.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
It's, there's sometimes I'm able to go to the track.
We let them out every now and then.
Every now and then.
It's difficult sometimes because you've got to take the feeds from, I think what's the most we've ever done? 15 cars? I think it was an absolute ton of cars. And then all the track cameras and everything, and you have to take them all, ingest them,
right,
and then send them out to the world to see. And you just can't do that from a DSL line. It
right.
needs, and tracks aren't known for having their for the best internet. I mean,
right.
And 1 month or 1 year, everything's brilliant there. And you go back, Coda, you go back there and everything's the worst ever. Or they don't give you access that they gave you last year because some IMSA guy tore up. No, I'm sorry, not IMSA. Some whoever sanctioning body tore up everything.
Right.
And then Paul, and then I get there, and then Paulie's got to figure out what to do when we can't do something. And he's brilliant at that.
Cool.
So the biggest show we ever did, the most significant in my mind, was when the first time we showed up at Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the Pagoda.
Yeah, that's got to be the coolest thing in the world.
2 10-hour races. I broadcast the entire thing over the public Wi-Fi.
God, that was the worst because we were told we'd have a wired connection, and we get there, no, you got to pay for that or something or another.
That was the problem. It's one of the a la cartes, and this is the kind of thing you run into when you're trying to broadcast from the track.
Right.
You don't know when I'm here, I know what I've got, and it's pretty straightforward. It's the same routine. When you go there, you've unplugged all your gear and you're plugging all this stuff back in again, trying to set it all up, hoping it's all going to work, and it can be stressful, especially on a show of that magnitude. That was our biggest show ever.
Yeah.
And when the boss is saying, I don't want any screw ups the whole time. I don't want any screw ups. I want the world's going to be watching this. And the pressure he put on us was just insane. And then, Doc comes in with with Doug Bowles, the track manager of, which isn't just a track manager. He's the big guy at Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Absolutely.
And, and they're watching us. They're looking to see what we're doing. They don't want their track or their events to look bad to the world. And they don't know what to expect from ChampCar.
By that time, we were pretty well practiced, and you're always looking for things to improve, and you're always trying new things. But we had it pretty strong, show by that time. So we knew how to roll with the little punches and stuff.
Well.
We had a really funny thing happen down in the pits with communicating to Bill, and that will never be forgotten. That was funny, but
it was. I gave Tiffany a radio so we could communicate back and forth, and Tiffany would just hold up the radio without pressing the button and talk to it. I'm like, press a button, and she'd just hold it up, or she'd press it and let go, and just
That's good.
Bill was so mad, and he's doing. Bill is trying to communicate to her by what is that game you play where you just make signs with your charades?
Yes.
And
Doc is making fun of me
and I
the whole time.
Are laughing so hard and just enjoying every moment of it. Not being helpful at all.
We're going to have to do a whole podcast, Paul, where you just tell Bill stories.
Oh, God, there's a lot of those.
And then we keep the microphone off. But just watch his face. I
have so much footage.
The roast Bill Strong episode.
The one of the last ones that was really good was the driver's interview after a race, and the microphone was off the entire time. There's absolutely zero audio. It's just him talking, and so I began to ad lib what the conversation was. to a point where I just got tired of it. I was embarrassing myself along with the whole show, and I just quit doing it.
That's funny. So, Bill,
I have an issue with sound.
Yeah, and I'm learning that every episode we have. I'm learning this more and more. So, did you have something in particular that you wanted us to talk about? Because I just started talking and we went. But is there something?
No, that was good. Actually, that's kind of where we were headed.
Okay, okay.
Paul, Paul does. Paul does all of our video editing.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the bad ones. Those are the ones I do.
Right.
But I try to. I see how he does things. I try to emulate it, and I just fail miserably. But yeah, Paul just released one today. We did we're doing a whole ad campaign, Be Like Ed, and Paulie did the video up for that, which we put up on our YouTube channel and Facebook, and whatever the other socials are. And I was just blown away. I mean, he took and I told him this morning. He said I sent him some really good video or whatever. But I got home and I re-looked at the video and I'm like, oh my God, there is absolutely nothing here. It's that freak out moment, and Paulie turned it into magic, man. It's like, it's pretty good.
So is there anything that y'all have planned? I just slipped back to my time in Atlanta. Is there anything that you have planned for the season that people would be like surprised to see? Is there any new features on ChampCar Live this year?
The virtual one where you're wearing the 3D glasses and they're floating above the cars. Have we talked about that yet, Paul? Heck, we're still trying to perfect what we do normally every weekend to try to keep it. Yeah. It's difficult.
Yeah.
This year's going to be a little more challenging for us than normal, because as we have increased the number of events, some of the events overlap into the same weekend.
I've heard about that. Because of that,
there's going to be, and yet we want to cover those races with a broadcast.
Well, we've been told we have to cover them. There's no want to. The boss said, I want both races broadcast. And he said this like 3 or 4 times without a break. So
typically what we do is Bill goes to the track and does the work of 3 people to get set up for the show. And then I'm at home doing the work of 3 people to do the show. And now,
wait a second. You're telling me you're getting your coffee and wait a few minutes. I'll be there. Let me get breakfast.
Normally I have to normally I would be sending somebody to get me donuts. I have to go get them myself.
Oh, okay.
Now, but what we're gonna be at separate tracks producing our own shows. The quality there is not an issue. We're not gonna profess the quality of what those shows might be like, but those shows will happen to some degree or another. And
mine's going to be better. Mine's going to be better. Trust me.
This is going to be audio.
So which ones are you sending me to your shows or to his shows?
Oh, wait. You're with me, Brian. You're with me.
That's why yours is going to be better.
Yeah. And it's audio. They don't have to look at us.
Exactly. Well, yeah, no one wants that. That's awesome.
No, Paulie and Tiffany are going to be at Sebring.
Okay.
And you and I are going to be at Thunder Hill.
Yeah.
And we're going to do video, by the way, at Thunder Hill. So we can do video there.
Okay.
We've done a live show from there.
And you got to remember, though, tower's
like right there.
I have to leave on Tuesday to get there by Friday. So,
God, what is it with Californians and they're traveling and stuff?
Oh, Lord. So,
but yeah, Paulie, it's going to be interesting because I think, have you done the in-car camera? I think you've done them like twice or 3 times, and a couple of times during a race when you were racing. I said, "Hey, move this camera over," and then you made it look at the ceiling.
It's not going to be easy because you're trying to. Typically, you got he's often working pretty close up until the time when we go live. It's gotten the only way to not do that is to get there like 2 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
To just get things set up.
Let's review this again. 3 hours, and I'm holding up 3 fingers. Yeah, at Harris Hill, I was there at 6:00.
Yeah,
and, it's tough, man, because we're gonna have half the cameras, so maybe 2 hours, because you'll have half the cameras, I'll have the other half.
Yeah. So anyway, it's
fun.
not going to be easy because I got to try and set up cameras, which I'm not familiar with doing that much, and then try to hustle back up and then run the show too, which is is insane.
Yeah.
It's not so bad to produce the show. It's not so bad to call the race. But when you're doing both,
Right.
Yeah.
it just cooks your noodle.
There you go.
And we've done a couple of races where I've handled the camera side and you've done the talking part. And
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
a lot
found that
easier for me.
more fun. Yeah. Except when I forget to turn the sound on and
Man, what's
you just slap me
what's it
upside
with
the
you
head.
and sound?
Microphones do not like Bill. It's
They
not
don't
Bill's
like
fault.
it's like
They
printers.
just don't like
Printers
it.
and microphones.
Oh man.
Printers and microphones just they're me.
So
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what we can do the rest of the year.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm pretty certain
Yeah,
we can
it'll be
do
fun.
it.
yeah.
It'll be fun.
All right. So Bill, if we don't wrap this up, we're gonna have like a 3-hour podcast here, which is fine, I guess.
Oh shoot. Yeah.
We're already.
Well, I told you, Paulie's a really interesting guy. He's
Paulie was like, "We're gonna be done in 3 minutes." It's been 39 minutes, Paul. 39 minutes we've done this. Yeah. Don't underestimate yourself.
He's the star of ChampCar. A lot of people don't realize that. And I know he gets really upset when people say, "Bill, that's a great video you've done." And Paulie's put in like 6 weeks of time. And there's been times
That
when,
gets me upset. But what really cooks me
Come
my
on now.
ass, what
Bring it.
really grinds on me
Bring it.
is here's what happens. Okay, so I get done. I produced all this this amazing video. I worked so hard on it for like 2 weeks. I'm killing myself on it, and I get like, I used to do all these little post-race recaps, music, transitions, pictures, video, interviews. I mean, I got it all, the whole thing, all the audio's balanced and gone through all this stuff. 200 views. Bill rolls out to a racetrack nobody cares about. There's like 12 people signed up, turns on the camera, does a lap at 7:30 in the morning, and he gets 780 views. What is going on?
People don't appreciate
somebody
brilliance.
What that's about.
People don't appreciate brilliance.
They don't.
A complete adjustment to my perspective is in order. Apparently, I don't have this right.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Paul, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
We'll get
It's
you
fun.
back on
You know
again.
this is only gonna get 20 views, right?
Exactly. This will be our.
Why would they? That's the thing. Why would anybody want to hear me talk again? I talk all weekend long. They know what I'm going to say. Why would they want to hear me talk again? But
Just
thanks for having me on.
Before
Brian.
we
It's
get
fun.
done, you got to do once for me, just because I'm a fanboy. Talk to me about the edge. Give me a good line here, okay?
Yeah, we'll sell you the whole seat. You'll only need the edge.
Oh, that's so good. So good.
I love it.
All right.
There was a
love
guy that used to do this over. We had an oval track here, and they would do the Sunday night, Sunday.
Oh, Great Lakes Dragway.
And Bearfield Raceway. We'll sell you the whole seat. You'll only need the edge.
It's too
That
good.
kind of stuff. And it was just, I was talking to Bill about that one day, and he said, "Oh, you got to do that. That'd be funny." I said, "But there's no edge in podcasts. There's no seat. You got to do it anyway."
Doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. We did that too long. I ran out of my music. All right. When we come back, we're going to take a look at what's coming up next week. I guess that would be this week. Once this thing comes on the air, we'll talk about NCM Motorsports Park next on Inside ChampCar.
Inside ChampCar is a podcast that takes a deep dive into all things going on with the ChampCar Endurance Series. Hosted by veteran journalist, radio host, and racer Brian Bielanski and ChampCar's very own Bill Strong, we talk to drivers, team bosses, tech gurus, and series supporters. Episodes air every week in time for you to listen on your way to the track. Inside ChampCar is on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, found on Apple, Spotify, Google, and most popular podcasting apps.
All right, we're back on Inside ChampCar. He is
Bill Strong.
I'm Brian Bielanski. What a great cover. Paul's a good guy. I mean, I knew he was, but I mean, I had never had a long conversation with him.
He even does his own commercials after his talk on it, which is always awesome.
Even better. Even better. All right, so we got to do this quick because we went really long with Paul. So
Oh yeah,
Up-
he had not had much. He didn't have much to say. So we're at I'm actually already in Bowling Green, Kentucky, sitting here in the hotel room, waiting to start up our race on Saturday at NCM Motorsports Park. They had a tornado hit there, I believe last year, and the track is the facilities are a little bit damaged. So we can't do a live show there because they just don't have the infrastructure for it right now as they rebuild the buildings.
Right.
But we're going to be in a tent, but I'm just going to be there talking to fit folks and maybe get a few interviews and then do a lot of pictures. I've been using my cameras. Actually, I got some published this weekend, which is kind of cool.
Cool. Where?
Mustang Muscle Magazine.
Nice.
So,
cool.
Yep. Posted up the link to the articles on our YouTube or Facebook channels, and
very cool.
And I thought it was pretty cool. Hey, we have a lot of cars coming there. 901 Motorsports is going to be there with their car. They've actually done quite well the past 4 races. If they haven't wrecked the car, they've done really well. Blue Shells will be there. Brew Crew will have their 2 E30s there, and they've actually been pretty darn strong. They have found some power in those cars. Cone Crushers are always at the top. They can win that race with that Porsche 944. Leviathan Motorsports, always the crowd favorite with their MR2, or maybe it's just me. But an MR2 has won this event, mine. And it's Leviathan's actually doing quite well this year with that car. They've upped their driving game and are kicking butt. RVA Graphics and Wraps, national champion there a few years ago. They're always, as Paulie puts it, the perennial favorite. 3 racings there with their BMWs, and Whitnauer Motorsports with their Mini. But my pick for the race, guess what it is? It is the 1984 Volkswagen Rabbit of Rabbit Racing. If the Greensboro, North Carolina Police Department back in 1980 could use a Volkswagen Rabbit for a police car, guess what? That could win NCM.
I love it. Cool. All right. Anything else we should know before we head it out?
No, just we put out an email to all the members about the petitions for next year's rule book. They're up for public review. Please go to check your emails, or you can go to the forum under the board of directors forum there and click the link and go send us what you think about them. If you don't like them, put it down. If you like it, great, put that down as well. Unfortunately, you have to be a full member, paid up to do it, and we will vet them before they're submitted to the board.
Cool.
But yeah, it's cool.
All right, that's going to do it, Bill, for another episode of Inside ChampCar. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any episodes. We're also on YouTube now. That's pretty cool. It would also be great if you would share it on all of your social media channels. You can comment on the ChampCar Facebook page. You can also leave, especially if it's a good comment. It's not a good comment. Don't worry about it. We have a new episode.
Still here, Bill.
I know. What's wrong with Bill's microphone? If we have we have a new episode every week. He is Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski, and you are listening to the Racing Wire Podcast Network.